or welcome back to Dr. Absurd Joy ASMR. Today's session will center around working with Rebecca Campbell's Work with Your Light Oracle cards. These cards were on my holiday wish list, and I just started working with them this weekend, and it's been lovely. So I thought to share a session where we can hold two cards and it might be a way for you to understand how to work with oracle cards or tarot cards. I think it's a really lovely way to get in touch with the spirit within and the spirit that permeates all life and all living things. That spirit to which we're connected. And these tools are a great way to look within. So I am in my Dr. Absurd Joy lab coat today. As I administer this healing session for us, but hopefully also bring you to a nice state of cozy and deep relaxation. Forgot how to say that word for what? Relaxation. So here's the book or the deck. Inside you can see it says you are the oracle. Because really all of these tools are about creating a way truly to connect with your own psyche, your own spirit, and to create that integrated, muddy bind spirit connection. So it comes with the instructional book. So fun to take time to just create some sounds. Sleepy, relaxing sounds with these objects. So here's the book. Yeah. And then there are 44 cards. Pretty. Love the colors. You can see they kind of match the Dr. Absurd Joy aesthetic colors. I will attempt to shuffle these with the press sounds. Let's see how that goes. I did shuffle these a bit already as well. I'm gonna lay cards out into 3 piles. We've already lit the candle to kind of start the ritual. I've got this really medicinal drink because I have been still fighting off some cold symptoms since the holidays. It's nice to take time with all this, to not be in a rush. Okay, I'm going to reassemble these in a particular order. Then spread them out. Do that again. Kind of shuffle them up. So, the intention that I'm setting for today's session, for the new year, looking at what would be beneficial to let go of and what would be beneficial to rise up in our lives, right? I'm asking this of myself, but then also holding the space for our collective circle. So we're kind of asking this within the community. Today, right now, Spirit, what is beneficial to let go of, and what rises up for our highest good? Okay, and I'm going to pick one card. The first card is the let go of, and the second card right here. What should rise up? Okay. I'm going to take all these and put them off to the side. Okay. soul calling spread is a great one for getting into a dialogue with your soul. The 2-card layout will provide clear guidance on what your soul is calling you toward. The first card represents what is falling away. The second card represents what is rising in you. Okay, so what is falling away is the inner temple. So the inner temple is an action card. And let's read. Devotion. Tune into the portal of your heart. You are being called to be a devoted student and tune into your heart, to incorporate true devotion into your life. You could be being called to develop a regular meditation, journaling, or chanting practice. For me, this is true. This is very well established in my life. Or show up to your soul with rhythm, to develop a daily practice where you fill up your well and spend time with your soul. Okay, this is not something I necessarily want to let go of, but it is well established in my life, so maybe I don't have to focus on it as much. All the answers to all of your questions that you seek are waiting for you in the portal of your heart. But you cannot hear them unless you carve out time each day to listen. Your soul is yearning for a deeper relationship with you, and so the more time you spend with it and show up to it, the more clearly it will guide you. We are here to grow as souls. Earth is one big playground. Earth is one big playground for the soul to learn. And you are being called to go deeper into your soul growth to increase your devotion by being a student of a lineage or a spiritual teacher. If you have already been a committed student, then you are being commended for your devotion. Your guides want you to know how proud of you they are, and that the time you spend in devotion is priceless. If you are questioning your career or life path, your guides want you to turn your focus toward devotion and this prayer. Please use me in a way that delights my mind, body, and soul. May my life be one big moving prayer. Work your light action. So then there is a kind of a call to action at the end. Commit to a daily devotional practice. So very interesting. This is already quite established for me. And I feel as though I have a good connection to when it needs to be reestablished. You know, like with any of our good habits or spiritual practices, we might fall away a little bit and return. So even though this reading, I'm saying that for me this is falling away, perhaps for our collective community, this message might be resonant and not necessarily something that's falling away for someone, but exactly what speaks to them. And once again, just showing this pretty card. Beautiful card. Okay, so now I'm going to reveal something. This second card, I pulled it again. I pulled it this weekend, and in one of my first readings, and it was very accurate, very exemplary of what was I could feel happening for me, and in particularly my family dynamic. And here's the card again, which means it still holds true. In a way, unfortunately, because it's kind of intense. I'll explain. Look at that. So this one is the ever unfolding rose, cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. Kind of can't believe this card came up again. So this is a confirmation card. Okay. The ever unfolding rose, cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. The challenge of life is to keep your heart open when you most want to close it. To let life crack you open. Kind of a violent image. To open through hurt and loss. To allow what is falling away to fall away. Being human is a courageous act. A life well lived is full of losses and tragedies, as much as triumphs and adventures. Wherever you find yourself at the moment, life is coaxing you to keep your heart open, no matter how much it hurts, to continually unfold. Perhaps you are going through a difficult time right now. Instead of cursing the difficulty, see it as a blessing. To open yourself up to the truth that, perhaps, as hard as it may be, life is happening for you, not to you. That makes sense, right? To see life and even the trials and tribulations as part of the journey of the soul. And one day, in the not too distant future, you will just bless the thing that broke you down and cracked you open, because the world needs you open. Now is the time to go gently, to treat yourself like a tender, sweet baby. To wrap yourself in a blanket and trust that the mother has you cradled in her arms. The seas may not be smooth sailing, but you are safe and you are held. One day, not too far from today, you will look back at the transformation and be blown away by the poetry of life. Everything is going to be okay. The call to action is, everything is going to be okay. Let it crack you open. What might this mean, this cracking open? Sometimes the strongest aspects of transformation, growth, and evolving in life means shedding, painfully shedding that which is unnecessary or that which just doesn't have a place for us anymore. I want to bring in two other little aspects of inspiration for today's soul session. And it's this. I shared in this book, which I'm newly reading, Mysticism and the New Physics. And mind you, it's a lot more kind of heavy quantum physics theory and references a lot of philosophers and physicists, so it's a little bit of a heavy read, but there's some really gorgeous and very inspirational takeaways, particularly for a soul journey. So I'm just going to read this little section from the introduction. The most astounding transformation of worldview that the new physics has undertaken is this: the recognition that consciousness does play a role in the so-called physical universe. In 1927, Werner Heisenberg presented his famous uncertainty principle and started a philosophical debate among the quantum physicists that still has not resolved itself. In vastly simplified terms, Heisenberg stated that the observer alters the observed by the mere act of observation. In striving to penetrate the secrets of matter, Heisenberg, perhaps unwittingly, caught a glimpse of Maya. So Maya in yogic philosophy means illusion, sort of like the incorrect rendering of what the world actually is. So once again it says Heisenberg perhaps unwittingly caught a glimpse of Maya, one of the illogicalnesses of the architecture of the universe that Borges speaks of. As Heisenberg stated, the conception of objective reality evaporated into the mathematics that represents no longer the behavior of elementary particles, but rather our knowledge of this behavior. The conception of objective reality evaporated into the mathematics that represents no longer the behavior of elementary particles, but rather our knowledge of this behavior. Since the time of Newton, physics has always tried to maintain a strictly empirical approach. It was a trusted myth that the laws of the physical world did not change. Given the proper tools and instruction, any physicist could duplicate the experiments and observations of any other physicist. The role of empiricism in science has always demanded a dispassionate observer and concentrated upon objective reality as a single observable something, a priori, don't know that word, to the consciousness. It doesn't matter which physicist or which mind makes the observation. It's the same universe, and that's what counts. But the new physics, the physics of quantum theory, the branch of physics which deals with very small quantities of matter and energy, has found it does matter. Given the proper tools and instruction, a physicist will not necessarily duplicate the experiments and observations of another physicist. The outcome of any particular experiment no longer seems to depend upon the laws of the physical world, but also upon the consciousness of the observer. And this has been proven scientifically by these quantum physicists. I've read a lot about that. Wow. The recognition of the role of consciousness in the process of the physical universe is a radical departure from classical physics. But it is what the mystics have been telling us all along. This, then, is the guiding topic of this book, to point out the confluence of mysticism and new physics, to offer a perspective of the universe under this new and subsuming structure, and to point out the radical, even awesome implications of such a perspective. And so, why am I bringing this in? What does this mean for us as we involve ourselves in this experiment called life? It's like the ultimate creative experiment. As a performer, a stage performer, improvisational experimental performer, I've often tried to speak to the audience about their role in creating the conditions of the successful performance, right? And for me, it was a way of advocating for the performer, that the performer is not just here to serve, is not a servant. And this was kind of along the lines as well, because traditionally the arts and dance is entertainment for the upper class. So for me, it was kind of interrupting this dynamic and saying, your attitude, your attention, your openness aids me in my job. We work together to collaborate on this experience. It's kind of like altering the power dynamic. So it's very fascinating to me to read this scientific context that explains that the observer alters, and the observer's expectation alters whatever the outcome is of the observed. So that's one avenue. And then the other is something that I've experienced greatly in my life, which is that just a slight change in my point of view will greatly alter the outcome in an interaction with someone. Even in what seems like a very fixed pattern, like maybe if it's with a boss or an intimate partner, there's a dynamic, things kind of predictable, right? What one might say and what someone else might say back in any given situation. But I've definitely observed in my life that when I do some deep shift in perspective for myself, some kind of internal work that brings me to a point of clarity and a connection with my heart and my soul. In this shift perspective, I then go to engage that person again. And that person behaves in a completely different way. I've observed this. So I feel like there's something important about that concept as we move forward in our soul work. Because there is, yes, the quiet time of reflection, and maybe going back to the 2 cards, the inner work, the soul reflection is a very necessary component of life. Especially if you're on any kind of transformational or healing journey for yourself. And then we go to the second card. And sometimes you may be a point in that journey where that quiet reflection is no longer the focus. Now, being cracked open into applying those things in a life that is moving and tumbling forward, or relationships that are moving and tumbling forward, or just more moving parts. Sometimes coming out into the world and revealing yourself vulnerably with your open heart. That might be the soul's mission as well. And these are all important dimensions of who we are and what life can be. I have one other. Both of these books have shown up in sessions. This one is The Yoga of Sound. I presented this book as it was a summer textbook read, and it appeared in the Vintage Haul video from September. So at the time I was reading the book, and it comes with a CD that I had not yet listened to, mainly because my Mac laptop no longer has a CD. So it was a little bit of a pain in the butt to just access it. But I finally have, and I will say, Russell Paul is an incredible teacher. The book is an incredible wealth of knowledge of the tradition of sound yoga, mantra, all the different ways that sound has played an important and vital part in the liberatory practice of yoga. But what's really cool is, upon actually listening to the CD, I discovered that Russell Paul is an amazing musician, an amazing vocalist, and it's just been wonderful to do a deep dive into his discography and the mantras that are in the CD. So I'm pulling actually, where is it? Here it is. I'm pulling a section from the book, particularly to kind of lift up the ASMR community a little bit. So, okay, here it is. So this chapter is balancing vision and sound. The eye and ear as symbols of power. Trusting our ears. It is estimated that the ear is about 10 times more accurate in its perceptions than the eye. For instance, there is nothing comparable to an optical illusion in the auditory realm. Experiments have also shown that no other sense organ can register impulses as minimal as those perceived by the ear. Furthermore, the ear can register sounds across a huge dynamic range, far greater than that which the eye can perceive without damage. The ratio of intensity between the faintest and loudest sound the human ear can hear is 1 trillion to 1. Hans Kaiser, a German scientist who developed a theory of harmonics in the 1920s based on the law of lambdoma. And then a little asterisk explains what that is. Explains that the ear is the only human sense organ able to perceive both numerical quantity and numerical value. For instance, not only can the ear recognize numerical proportions of music, as in the octave 1-2 or the fifth 2-3, but at the same time it can hear values that it perceives as specific notes, C, G, F, and so on. In other words, the element of sensing the tone is fused with the element of thinking, the numerical proportion. The ear is the only organ capable of doing this with remarkable precision. This is why, as Joachim Ernst Berendt explains, even an unmusical person can hear whether an octave is correct or not, because their ear can actually measure whether the higher tone really swings with a frequency twice that of the lower tone. But no one can see that a color emits a light frequency twice that of the other one. My point here is that the ears have amazing accuracy and intuitive powers. They can translate mathematical quantities into sense perception, conscious experiences into subconscious impressions, measurable things into unmeasurable ones, abstract concepts into matters of soul, and vice versa. This unique capability allows the ears to function as a gateway to the soul. The ears as a gateway to the soul. By not paying enough attention to the sonic aspect of situations, we are neglecting the feminine counterpart of our visual experiences, which the author attributes visual experiences and sight to a more masculine, like, quality. And this makes sense also in terms of yogic anatomy, yogic philosophy. Sound is powerfully linked to our feelings. It causes our cells and tissues to vibrate, activating a range of experience far beyond what the eyes are capable of perceiving by themselves. Frequently, we ignore the information that comes to us through our ears and registers in our soul. There is a level of truth in this information that we have not learned to address, perhaps because of the deep introspection that it requires, and certainly because we do not trust this sense organ sufficiently. Imagine your boss or coworker saying something to you and you replying, "I hear you," but there is an emotion underneath your words that indicates something else. Can we talk about that? Imagine saying that to your boss or your teacher or something. Joachim Ernst Berendt cautions that people who live mainly through their eyes lead not only a diminished spiritual life, but also a less precise life than those attuned to their hearing. We do not realize it sufficiently, but helping our children develop their hearing skills will guide them more safely through life's challenges. Better hearing increases self-awareness. Our eyes, if not complemented with effective listening skills, can easily deceive us. And it just goes on further. I mean, that's just a little passage. And then it talks even further about the femininity and the feminine introspective aspect of sound. I wanted to bring this in because as members of the ASMR community, we are practicing and exploring in this realm of taking in sound's importance. I have found ASMR to be such a gift to my life. The tactile, meaning kind of touch-based quality of ASMR, actually feeling sound on the body, and developing a sensitivity to simple auditory stimulation, I feel like has had very positive benefit to my life. My sense of hearing has become attuned, as I imagine yours has too. so as we derive not only pleasure and comfort from ASMR sound, I will continue to see the ways in which ASMR and just that little more deeper and refined listening shows up in my life. I am letting go of a clock that we've had for a long time. It used to be in our living room when we lived in a Brooklyn apartment, and since we moved to a house, that clock was in this studio and it ticks. I can't. One ruins recordings all the time, but now I hear it so strongly, as well as other sounds I'm really sensitive to now. So let's listen. Let's keep practicing the deep listening to each other, to the messages from our heart, our soul, our intuition. Maybe whatever concepts we talked about in this session. Let's just take a moment to draw those things into the body. So we'll finish there. And I'm going to do this on myself, giving a little pat on the top of the head. Mila. Pat. And if patting the top of the head feels too uncomfortable, you can pat the space. Oh, you don't see it on the video. Pat the space above the top of the head. I always think of this as a little fluffing of the crown. Space. Let me fluff your crown. Okay, then we'll tap the heart. Deep breaths. We're carrying the resonant ideas from today's session into the head, into the heart, and then into the gut. So this is a particular tapping technique from the body talk system, but also I think it relates to me very deeply to ancient tantric practice, yogic practice, where at various points along the history of the chakras, there have been 3 chakras, there have been 5 chakras, there have been 12, there's been 7 through millennia. But the main ones that are always present, always, the crown, the head, the heart, and the gut. And then we'll just be in quiet reflection after that. feeling how the body feels. Thank you, everyone, for your presence and for your attention. Have a blessed rest of your day or night, and a beautiful